Till Death Do Us Blart is an annual podcast in which the hosts of The Worst Idea of All Time, Tim Batt and Guy Montgomery, and the McElroy brothers, the hosts of My Brother and Me, watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, and then they talk about it. And every now and again they name a successor, if they're to pass on, who's going to take their place as one of the keepers of the Blart. And last year, Timbo said this.
Yeah. So I'm going to say it out loud and put it on the record for at least if something happens to me in the next 12 months, which incapacitates me. Ben McGugan, a New Zealand stand-up comedian, unfortunately another straight white dude, will be taking my chair. He is a very funny man who refuses to wear shoes most of the time, and we had him on the season of the podcast. He was absolutely filthy, and I think he'd be a wonderful addition.
Yeah, huge honour. Thank you, Timbo. A little bit worried about all the hosts dying in a freak podcast accident, and then it's just me and the McElroy's kids, and they're all crying, and I'm like, look, I get it. You're sad about your dads and uncles dying, but like, I reckon if you give Kevin James a decent dramatic script, he could really do something with that. What do you reckon? In preparation for my new grim duty, I watched the first Paul Blart. And then I was going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it now. It's just kind of hard because there's like talking about the creative decisions of Paul Blart Mall Cop is like talking about how much you're turned on sexually by a microwave. Like, it doesn't evoke any emotion in me. It makes me think about how I'm going to pay rent for the rest of my life. So here's just a bunch of thoughts I thought while watching Paul Blart Mall Cop. Towards the beginning of Paul Blart Mall Cop, Paul Blart kills a dog. He runs over a dog on his Segway, and that's just one of the many great scenes in Paul Blart Mall Cop. You might notice that that's not a joke or anything. It's just him killing a dog. I don't know. Maybe they were like, look, Paul Blart is this unattainable godlike creature. We have to do something to make him relatable. Let's get him to kill a dog. So you don't have to do that. I hate Paul Blart. The very start of the film has got Bas Rutten in it. Paul Blart is trying out to be a cop, so there's this obstacle course thing, and Bas Rutten is this drill instructor. Bas Rutten is one of the most feared and admired Dutch kickboxers and MMA fighters, and he's there, and then he doesn't kick anybody's ass, which is strange. Like, why is it Bas Rutten? Why would it's like if Tony Hawk was there and he was like, for the next bit you got to use the skateboard. I don't know what that is. The bad guys in Paul Blart, they're robbing banks. That's why they're at the mall. And robbing banks, like that very cool, sexy thing to do, like that victimless crime you can do, robbing banks. Like that. Like how that's like really cool and sexy, and the film came out in 2009, right after the banks caused a global financial crisis. So we're all like, yeah, go Paul Blart, save the banks. They learned their lesson. Hey, Kevin James, you working on a script there? Yeah, it's about this fake cop who kills a dog and then protects banks. Wow, he sounds like a real piece of shit. So Paul Blart's saving Mr. Banks, but also the bank robbers take his love interest and his daughter hostage. It's part of that like dad fantasy, where they imagine that their daughter gets kidnapped. I don't know why it's always the daughter, but you ever think about that, like how it's fucked up that like the Taken franchise was so popular because a bunch of dads were like, fuck, I wish someone would kidnap my daughter. Not actually, but like actually though, I would. I'm not going to make fun of Kevin James's weight. Partly because it's rude, and partly because the film tries and fails to make fun of Kevin James's weight for 90 minutes. And the idea of participating in that makes me want to quit comedy, change my name to Keith, and open up a dry cleaners. But I will say that Kevin James strikes me as the kind of bloke that thinks that because he's fat, that makes him charming. I say the film tries to make fun of Kevin James's weight. It doesn't make any jokes or anything. He's just sort of is fat, and then eats a lot, and then he falls over sometimes. And isn't that funny? Did you like that when Paul Blart fell over? Are you a little baby? Paul Blart fall over. Are you a little baby? The bad guys in Paul Blart are they do extreme sports. They do parkour and BMX and shit. I don't know why. I don't know why they felt the need to give them a gimmick. Like like they're a Batman villain that no one gives a fuck about. I'm BMX guy. The real hero of Paul Blart is stalking. Stalking is always portrayed as a really good thing. One instance, there's this character who is
peanut, Blart, and jelly. What?
He's Paul Blart's sidekick. He's like the computer guy, and he's basically the guy in the limousine from Die Hard. Do you remember? And like the film itself, Paul Blart is just Die Hard. It's just Die Hard. Like, it's just Die Hard in a mall. I don't think they were like, let's make comedy Die Hard. I just think that there's a part of Kevin James's brain that's always thinking about Die Hard. But the sidekick character is able to track this girl who was taken hostage because he's put a tracker on her phone, and that helps Paul Blart save the day. And in the second instance of stalking, he just really like creeps on the love interest through the security cameras. And the love interest is the lady from Glee. Is this an upgrade? You decide. I don't think so. After stalking and harassing this woman for a little bit, he asks her if she wants to get on his Segway and go for a ride. And he says, "You'll be as safe as the president," which is great because like 10% of presidents get assassinated. So like, which is honest of him, you know. He's like, look, get on. You've got like a 90% survival rate or something. It's pretty good. You know, I'm a complete fuckwit and I might be a creeper. Hop on. But the whole film is just bad excuses to watch Kevin James's body get hurt. And so what, like, why not just have him, like, why have a movie? Why have all of this other stuff? Why not just, he shows up, he's like, oh, I'm Paul Blart Mall Cop, and then Bas Rutten beats his ass for 90 minutes and everyone can go on with their lives. But maybe the second one's really good. Maybe the first one's all set up and the second one's all payoff. Maybe, probably not though, eh?